Okay, here we are. Hello, everyone. Getting everybody warmed up. We're going to wait just a few minutes to get everybody an opportunity to join us. I'm going to put some hand lotion on while I wait. I got a lot of good content for us today. We're on chapters 7 and 8 of How to Win, or not How to Win Friends, but 101 Ways to Make Money in Real Estate. How to Win Friends and Influence People is just my annual book that I read. Do you have an annual book that you read? That just happens to be one book that I try to work into my routine to read or listen to at least once a year, is How to Win Friends and Influence People. All right. Tell me in the comments if you've got a book that you like to read, something like that annually. Huh? Hey, Kelly. Kelly's in the house. Kelly's in the house. How are you? Let me know if you're here. Harry Potter. Like you read the Harry Potter series every winter? That's cool. I have every time I go to the cabin and it's a rainy day, I watch Gone with the Wind. 4 hours of it. You got some of those favorites that you just can't let go, huh? Tell me in the comments if you're joining me. We got a lot of good stuff for today. Like I said, we're moving on to chapter 7 and 8. And chapter 7 is Be Honest. How do you make money in real estate by being honest? We're going to talk about that. And then number 8 is going to be Don't Assume Anything. You know what happens when you assume something, right? That's chapter 8. I'm going to talk about a few ways, that you can make money by not assuming something. Okay? All right. So here we go. Here we go. We're going to move right along here. First chapter is number 7, Be Honest. And Andrea says honesty, even in the auto repair industry, is why she was very successful in that mostly male industry. You got to just, sometimes you just got to take the bull by the horns with your honesty, don't you? And tell people the way of the world. And sometimes it hurts and sometimes it works out okay. But in real estate, I can think of a few things that, have produced money for me personally because I was honest. But before we talk about that, let's talk about the opposite, right? Let's talk about fraud, for example. The opposite of being honest would be, skirting that line of fraud. There's lots of ways to make money in real estate if you were fraudulent, isn't there, right? So, we want to stay away from that, of course, but you want to think in terms of how can you make money if you're being honest in real estate? Well, of course, lots of ways. And one way you're going to be dealing with that is when you start to deal with distressed property owners. Now, Araminta and I were talking about this the other day. In the next couple of years, you're probably going to be faced with dealing with some distressed property owners. And you're going to have to be completely honest with them. You know what I mean? They're going to be in a position where they are vulnerable and literally they just need somebody to make the decisions for them. And obviously, if you're honest, you're going to do the best thing for them. And when you do the best thing for a distressed property owner, they are grateful. And obviously, they will put the word out, right? They'll put the word out and they'll refer other business to you, okay? But honesty is going to be a big part of what you're going to have to do when you're dealing with distressed property owners. You're going to have to look people in the eye and say, bankruptcy isn't going to stop a foreclosure action. It's only going to delay the inevitable, right? That's being honest with them, and that's something they're going to have to maybe decide for themselves. Do they want to take this route or do they want to take this route? And if this route doesn't pan out, if the bankruptcy isn't going to save them, then it's time to come to the realization that they need to sell their home. Okay. Now, another situation in dealing with real estate that honesty is going to be the best policy. Of course, when you're dealing with maybe not a distressed property owner, but an unwanted property or a dilapidated property, or just, something that has to be liquidated because it's a burden, or it needs repair. It's especially if you start to buy property yourself, it becomes real tempting, doesn't it, to make that offer first to that homeowner and maybe not put it on the market and accept open offers, right? That's going to be a situation that's going to cross your lap someday, especially if you do start to, or you already do dabble with buying property, all right? You've got to be honest with that homeowner. I've done that many times, and I'll tell them, this is my offer. This is how I handle it. I tell them, this is my offer. I'm a cash buyer. I can buy it, right? I'll buy it for this price. But I want to do the honest thing for them, right? And they know that because I'm going to be honest and tell them I'm doing the honest thing here. Let's put it on the market. Let's solicit all the cash offers from all of the investors out there. We know that we're not looking for an FHA or even a conventional buyer. You know what I mean? We're looking for a cash investor that's just going to take it and close quickly, right? That's what you want. That's what we're looking for. We're going to put it on the market anyway. Even though you've got my offer, we're going to put it on the market. So that's happened. That's happened to me where, look, this is my number. And ultimately, I did sell the house through MLS for $10,000 more than my offer, and she knew that. And of course, I recommended that she took the higher offer. I didn't make money on that. Of course, I made my commission, but she referred me 3 more people, So these are situations that you're going to be faced with in your career where honesty is always going to be the best policy because it's going to come back to you in tenfold. When you take from someone else, you're taking from yourself, okay? And here's another point as well. When you're honest, you ask better questions, okay? You ask better questions when you're dealing with the consumer and you're honest and you tell them, look, this property is not, is not going to qualify for this type of financing unless you do this type of repair, right? And sometimes you have to have that honest conversation. If they can't replace the roof, then this is the direction that they need to take. So these are some, when you're honest, you feel more confident when putting that kind of stuff out there, don't you? Right? You don't have to feel like, why do they make me feel like I'm, a used car salesman or something? You know what you're doing because you honestly know the answer to these questions, right? So you ask better questions when you're honest. Okay. I know that's a little vague, but I thought about it and I thought, if you didn't have the confidence and know what you're doing, you tend to shy away from asking those questions that you need to ask. You need to put that out there. You need to know, like, for example, there was a question in the group posted, what do you do if you're after the listing presentation and the seller tells you that they need to sell? Well, let's see. That's my next topic. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Don't assume anything. Okay. Now, Colleen says, I assumed a friend was listing with a mutual friend and never asked for the listing, and they went to a third party. And I later found out that they thought I was too busy. So you always have to ask for the sale. Don't ever assume anything. And so how can you make money with that? You don't want to assume all of the options have been considered in a situation. Now let's talk about that post in the group that says, after the listing presentation, right? After the listing presentation, and then the owner tells you, they want to buy a house first before they sell. You can't assume that they can't afford it, or that all of the options haven't been taken care of or considered, right? I was watching a TED Talk this morning, and it was about friendship and how to create friendship. And you can't assume that someone is going to be braver than you. In order to start a relationship or a friendship, someone has to be brave. You can't assume that they're not going to like you, right? So how can you make more money in real estate is by stop assuming that people don't like you, right? Go into the conversation knowing in your mind that people are going to like you. And it's easier to put yourself in there and put yourself out and make that relationship. This was a little story about, meeting someone in an apartment complex hall. You ever have that awkward situation where you have a neighbor, maybe when you first moved into the neighborhood and you see your neighbor and you kind of wave at them, but you don't ever really talk to them? Just go talk to them. You know what I mean? Go make a friend. Don't assume, right, that they are braver than you. Okay. Somebody's got to be the first one to say hello. Okay. So don't assume anything. All right. So there's just a few little things. I think these topics are getting a little rough here, as far as 101 ways to make money in real estate. I like it because it's making me think all week long, how did I do that? How is that possible? Of course, I jumped into a big group and said, the name of the book is 101 Ways to Make Money in Real Estate. Name the chapters. And they come up with 101 chapters for me. And I'm trying to challenge myself to match all of their chapters and come up with a way to connect it into making money. So we have chapter 7, be honest. You can always make money in real estate being honest. And let me tell you what, if you're not honest in real estate, you're not going to sleep well at night. You know what I mean? I don't know about you, but I have to sleep well at night. Okay. So, that's just a no-brainer, right? You think that's just a no-brainer, but let me tell you what, there's fraud. There's fraud out there, and there's all kinds of fraud. If somebody tells you, don't submit that addendum to the contract to the lender, that's fraud. Okay? That is fraud. So, sometimes you have to just move forward with the right thing, right? You know what I mean? If you're not willing to produce that to the lender, something's not right. That's a red flag. Let your spidey senses go off. Okay? These are small things that we're faced with every day that challenge our honesty in this business. You know what I mean? All the time we are going to be challenged with our honesty. Do we, cover up something on a property? Do we paint over some mold? No, we can't do those things. Those things always come back to bite you in the ass. Okay. So that's a no-brainer when you think about it, to be honest in real estate. But we're here to talk about making money with real estate, and in turn, when you are honest, it comes back to you tenfold. I know that's a little lame, right? But it's true. Okay. You know what I mean? And of course, chapter 9 is don't assume anything. I have bought a refrigerator, years and years ago in the beginning of our career, and they switched out the contract. Somebody mentioned this in the comments as well. They switched up the verbiage on whether the refrigerator was included or not. Now, I can't tell you exactly what it was, but I remember I specifically told that buyer, yep, it will come with a refrigerator. Okay. And then, push come to shove, the agent pointed out the actual contract reads existing refrigerator, and there was no existing refrigerator. So there was no refrigerator included. I had to buy a refrigerator. Okay. Because I assumed that refrigerator was going to be included, but I did the right thing, right? I did the right thing, and I got referrals from that customer too. Okay. These These are things that you just have to cross your bridge and get over, All right. Okay. Any questions? Do we have any comments? Do you have a situation where you can share where maybe you assumed something that you shouldn't have? Or you saw someone who should have been more honest? Huh? But yes, it always comes back to bite you in the ass. That is the truth. That is the truth. We had in our hometown when we first got in the business, and of course, it was, this is Florida. Florida is the wild, wild west, but there was a few distinct real estate brokerages in our town that just had that kind of reputation, that I don't know how, I don't know why, I don't know any details, but I just knew that they had that reputation for being dishonest. And that was sad. That was really sad. They ultimately did lose their licenses for fraud, and there's that. But I never knew the details about it. I didn't want to know. I had come into this business with 17 years of lending background. So, I have seen my fair share of fraud in Florida, let me tell you. So it was a no-brainer for me to come into the real estate, brokerage, and knew that I had to be honest, because shit flows downhill, and don't ever think that it doesn't. Okay. All right. All right. I'm going to cut this one short today. Hopefully that's given you some food for thought. How can you turn that around and give me some ideas or some situations where you've been honest and it's profited for you personally? You've put good out into the world and you got good back, right? That's what I want to hear. Those are the stories I want to hear. Okay. All right. I'll talk to you later. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.